Hey guys, how's it going? Casey here. If you don't know me already, thank you so much for checking out my podcast. And I hope that you guys are having a great day today. Today's topic, I wanted to talk about college culture and Christianity and how those two go together or don't go together, you know? I actually just recently graduated from college. I went to the University of Central Missouri, go Mules, and I was there for 3.5 years. I graduated a semester early, actually, with my bachelor's in political science. So while I was at college, actually, if you haven't already listened to my testimony, episode, totally feel free to check that out where I go more in depth, into the details of this. But freshman year, basically where I was at, basically freshman and sophomore year was that I believed in God, and I thought he was a cool dude who would want me to go out and party and have as much fun as possible because he would want me, to have fun. He would want me to have a great time. I did not like the whole following rules thing. I did not understand obedience to God. I had not even really read the Bible at that point. So freshman and sophomore year were a little more confusing for me as I was growing, as I was learning. A lot of my beliefs were being challenged and questioned in college. College is a great place to do that. So anyways, freshman and sophomore year in particular, I spent a lot of my time at parties and or drinking or what have you. And even going into my junior and senior year, I spent quite an embarrassing amount of time not focusing on school whatsoever. And I actually wrote about this on my blog also. If you haven't read it, faithfullyforyou.com. But going into college, I had a lot of people tell me kind of that they just expected me to drink a lot and to party all the time and spend every, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, at the bars, basically. That was just kind of like what they expected me to do. And it was weird for me because prior to that was not what I did. Okay, in high school, I did not do that kind of stuff. I mean, I would go do whatever every now and again. However, that was not at all what my priority was. That was not anything that I was nearly as interested in as maybe other people were at that time at my age. So going into college, that was like the big thing that everybody said. They're like, oh, you're gonna have so much fun and you're gonna be going to classes hungover all the time and blah blah blah, and you're gonna be spending so much time at frat houses and etc. And like it kind of shocked me because I was like, why is that just normal for you? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, and obviously because it's what's popular right now in our society, it's what is normal, quote unquote. It's just what is expected of people. You know, we all expect college to be like some crazy like frat party 24/7, I think, mainly because that's the way that it has been portrayed in media a lot of the time. And then whenever I started going to college, there was a lot of negative media attention around Greek life. And I did join a sorority, so there was a lot of negative attention that started getting going around it, and then there was a lot more light shown on the whole party culture of college. And I think that it started a good conversation about it. But I mean, as a Christian, there's not really that like that. There's not like a how-to manual on how to navigate college as a Christian, because there's so many times where it's like, is what I'm doing okay? I have no idea. Like, I really don't know. Like, and everyone's like, oh, well, like, look in the Bible, see what the Word of God says about what you're doing, about the situation that you have questions about. And while, yes, that's helpful, sometimes it's really hard to understand, and sometimes it's really hard to decipher the meaning and, just kind of determine what, God's will would be in some situations. And for me in particular, that was not my first response. Especially being so young and so new in my faith, I think that I had a lot of misconceptions and misunderstandings. And there were a lot of times where my friends would ask me to go to the bars with them or go to a party with them, and I didn't want to be that person that said no, you know? I mean, everybody wants to go have fun with their friends. Like, no one's gonna be like, you know what I'd really rather do tonight is work on this essay. Like, that's definitely more fun than that, you know? That's, like, nobody, right? Everybody wants to spend time with their friends. However, whenever it comes to college, I had to, you know, actually study and, like, get my stuff done in order to make the grades that I needed. However, freshman year, I very quickly learned that you cannot really focus that well on your schoolwork if you are constantly out with your friends, okay? Well, anyways, I had a pretty rough year freshman year. I didn't really make the grades that I really wanted to make. And a lot of that is just because I was goofing off and I didn't really care, you know, gen ed classes, like, it's whatever. And so, yeah, I was goofing off a lot. And there wasn't a lot of Christian influence in my life at that point. Like, I was not by any means close to anybody that shared my faith. And it wasn't until I think my fall semester, my junior year, that I became really good friends with a girl. Her name's Chelsea from my sorority, who she was also Christian. And I mean, like, praise God that me and her became friends. And it's so funny because we did not like each other when we met. Like, we did not at all think highly of each other. And I think that is so funny. I think that's part of God's humor right there. And anyways, we bonded over that, the fact that we, you know, we're both Christians and share the same faith. And I remember I was just like texting her one summer because it was the summer that I really started taking my faith seriously. And I was reading through things and I was doing Bible studies and I was actually sitting down to read the Bible, and I texted her because I knew that she was Christian and I had like a question about something. I asked if she wanted to read it together or help me study it, basically. And so it started our conversation about that, and we really ended up bonding over it. And it was weird for me because I did not expect that, because like we just did not like each other. Okay, so but me and her became really good friends. I love her to death. And that was the first time I feel like I really had a friend that was also solid in the same faith as me, that I could really talk to about it, and like, you know, we could relate to each other in ways that maybe I couldn't relate with my friends who didn't share my faith, if that makes sense. But I do remember there were a lot of times during college when I felt really discouraged because there were things that I was doing that I knew that I shouldn't have been doing, and I felt terrible after the fact. You know what I mean? Like, there was a point my senior year, first semester, maybe second semester, junior year. Anyways, I was friends with these two girls and I love them both. They're both such great girls. But our favorite activity was drinking. And they would just like come over and we would make dinner together, eat dinner together, you know, like hang out, do some drinking. And I mean, we would also, you know, we'd sit around, we'd talk about what was going on in school, in our sorority. I mean, we would sit there, basically gossip about other girls, and I feel really bad about, you know, doing that. I don't think that, like, looking back on it and, like, after the fact that we did it, like, yes, it was fun at the time, and yes, like, we were laughing, and I was, like, you know, like, joking around, but, like, after the fact, I felt really bad. I mean, even, like, the next day, like, I'd wake up and be like, why did I say that? Why did I do that? Like, I don't, like, my body, like, literally felt, like, bad. Like, it felt heavy. I think that all of that was, like, taking an actual physical effect on me. And, I mean, like, let's just face it. Like, I was doing way too much. And in the end, it didn't even end up being fun, you know? And I felt like embarrassed to say no at some points. You know, like in college, like everyone's like, you're gonna drink a lot, you need to drink a lot, you need to go to parties, you need to have fun doing this, and this is the way that you're supposed to do it. And I don't think that that's right, because I don't think there's just one way to enjoy college. I don't think that there's just one way for you to have fun. And that was the great thing about being in my sorority, was there were a lot of us who were very different, and we all could find at least one person in our chapter who we could do something fun with, that we enjoyed, that wasn't, you know, the same thing as everybody else. And I think that that was one of the things that I really enjoyed about it, is there was always something I could do with somebody, you know? And I think that it was just hard because I was not focusing on God the way that I should have. And so when it came to those situations, I was just focusing on what I felt like I wanted to do and what my friends wanted to do, if that makes sense. And a lot of it was I wanted to please other people. I didn't want to say no to going to hang out and get like weird looks or questions like, are you okay? Like, you know what I mean? And it wasn't until I really started like talking more about it with Chelsea that I was like, okay, like I'm not the only one that thinks this. I'm not the only one that like doesn't want to go out every weekend and all this kind of stuff. Like I would much rather just like hang out, watch a movie, eat some popcorn, like have a good night, hanging out inside and, not walking a mile in heels. So that was kind of hard for me. And it was hard for me also like figuring out like what it was that I really valued, and what it was that I like what was making me happy, what was making me not happy. I had to actually like, sit down and like think about those things and point them out and say like, do I need this in my life? Is this helping me in any way? Is this leading me to God or farther away from God? And I think that that was hard because there were some things I had to admit that like I was doing very wrong. I did not need to be drinking that much. I didn't need to be smoking weed. I didn't need to be, going to parties all the time. I didn't need basically a lot of stuff that I liked doing. I was like, why am I doing that? That's not bringing glory to God. That's not serving me in any way, like my physical body. I mean, if anything, it was doing it a disservice and harming it. Um, but I did it because I was like, this is what I have to do because I'm in college and everyone expects me to do this and it's normal. And why should I not do it, right? Because it's just what people expect. It's what is normal. And I never even second guessed it. I never asked like why it is this way or why people do it like this. And I think that that was kind of my problem was I never questioned it. Not once until like my senior year, really, whenever I really dived into my faith and I really, really started learning more about what God's will was for my life and what it means to truly love him, and have a relationship with him. And it's so weird now, even because I have a prayer journal that I have and I write in it pretty much every day. And it goes all the way back to 2018. And I can just go back and I can read it. And I can see how God has answered my prayers, but also I can see like how I felt in those situations. Like I remember hanging out with a group of girls, and the next day I wrote in my journal, I said that didn't feel right to me. Like I left that feeling more empty. I left that feeling not happy. I left it feeling kind of like discouraged, honestly. And just like praying and like asking God, like, is this a group of girls you want me to hang out with? Is this something that you would think is okay for me, like okay for my life for me to be doing? And like I can go back and I can read all that, read how I question it, read how I started understanding more of what God really wanted for me. And it's so interesting to be able to just like look back on that and basically better understand what it was that I was going through and what it was that God was leading me to, because I can read all that and I can see how going through that situation led me to the place that I was in later, and how that is going to lead me to the place that I am in now, and now is going to lead me to the place I will be in the future. And that's one of the things that I really love about writing down your prayers and like keeping a like journal of your prayers, is you can see exactly how God has acted in your life. I can see the things that he's protected me from. I can see the prayers that he's answered. I remember I wrote in my journal, I said, God, please take people out of my life that you do not want me to be friends with. I said, please look at the people that I'm surrounding myself with, and if it is not your will for me to be friends with them, please take them out of my life. And there were girls immediately, I swear, that we did not get along anymore. We stopped talking. We did not associate anymore after that. And I said, like, thank you. Obviously, like, that was not part of your plan. That was not somebody that I needed in my life. That was not one of, like, your will for me to be friends with that person. And I think that was hard at first because, I mean, it's not like I didn't love those people and it's not like I didn't care about them. But it wasn't what was best for me whatsoever. I feel like those people were leading me farther away from God, and I could feel it happening. Like, I literally felt the distance coming in between us, and I knew that it was because of what I was doing, because I was sinning, and it was, breaking that bond between us. And I also knew that it was just like the influences that I was around. They were not bringing me closer to God whatsoever. They were more so influencing me to sin even more. And I could literally feel it. It was making me so empty feeling and unhappy, and just like gradually throughout the days I was like, I'm not acting like myself, honestly. If we were being honest, I didn't even really realize it at the time, but like, I was not happy and I was not being myself whatsoever. That was not like my normal personality that I would have, with like people that I like genuinely love being around. And I know, like, everyone says you're gonna make, like, lifelong friends in college, which is true, and I have made some. But there's still also gonna be those people that they're meant to be in your life for a season, but maybe not, forever. And I don't think that that'll ever go away in our life. I think that'll be around forever. But it's important that we realize that, and that we can accept that when someone, leaves our life, it's probably what's best for us. And that at the time was kind of hard for me to understand, but I understand it better now. And, going through college, I just thought like, oh, I'm supposed to be friends with everybody and everyone's going to be my friend forever. And that was not what happened, Like, yes, there were girls that I loved partying with and I loved going out with, I loved drinking with. And as soon as I stopped doing that kind of stuff, gone, you know what I mean? There was like nothing really in common for us anymore. There was nothing that we really liked doing together anymore when it wasn't that. So that was kind of another thing that was like hard for me to kind of just move on from. And I felt like with that I was missing out on the college experience, because I wasn't going out where everybody was or whatever. But that's not necessarily true. There is not one universal college experience. I was pretty terrified going into college freshman year because I was like, what if I do it wrong? There's not a wrong way to do college, There are so many different opportunities at any school that you go to. There's so many different avenues that you can take, and so many different people that you're going to meet that are going to lead your life in different directions. So I don't really know why I felt like there was this one universal way that I had to do things, that the way that it was in movies was the way that I had to act and the way that I had to live. Especially with joining a sorority. The first thing that went through my mind when I was like, yeah, I'm going to join a sorority, of course, is like, House Bunny, etc. Like, stuff like that. Legally Blonde. And I think that was kind of like dumb of me, honestly, because every school is so very, very different. And I had no experience in Greek life, and I was expecting it to be something that it was not, okay? And I was like, this is going to be just like Legally Blonde, it's going to be so much fun, blah, blah, blah. It was not. And in a way, that was kind of disappointing. But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, wow, I'm pretty glad that it wasn't like that. But basically, what I am getting at during this episode is that, it is not bad as a Christian to, enjoy drinking. But I will say that the Bible does talk about how getting drunk, purposefully getting drunk, is a sin, and that can lead us farther away from God. And I just really encourage Christians, if you're going to college, don't feel pressure from people to act a certain way or to do certain things because you feel like that's what you're expected to do or what you should do. There's not one single way you can do anything in life, really. And I really just encourage you to hold Jesus near to your heart and focus on him and what his will is for your life. Because there were so many moments where I would get asked to go do something, and I knew in my head and in my heart, I said, I should not do that. I said, like, oh, I don't know, like, are you sure, like, that's fine? But of course my flesh really wanted to do it, so I would say yes. And I wasn't listening to that like voice inside of me that was like telling me to stop and like question it. And if you're a Christian going through college, that can be really hard because, nobody wants to disappoint their friends. Everyone wants to make good friends. Everyone wants to have fun. And I know that there can just be so much pressure, and it can be so hard to feel like you're doing it correctly, or that you're getting the most out of your experience, or that people are going to like you if you don't do those things. That can be really hard too. There's so much pressure. Like, if you want to make a lot of friends, you have to do this, etc. And that's, I think that college experiences are different for everyone. And once you get to college, you'll find, you'll start figuring those things out, that like what matters to you. What do you find important? What do you want out of life? What do you want out of your college experience? What are you looking for in your friends, And Chelsea really helped me with that because honestly, I felt like I just didn't know, and going to church with her was really great because I could build a community with that church, and I had someone there to support me if I had questions, if I needed help, if I felt like I was doing a bad job, if I felt like I was failing, and that just really helped me, having that group of people there and somebody that I knew would support me and somebody that I knew had the same understanding as me and would, if I wanted advice, it would come from a biblical perspective, and it would come from somebody who was also, going through a similar experience as me, and that helped tremendously. And then I guess on one last like closing note, I think that it's important to keep looking forward to the eternal life and the joy that Jesus has promised us. And this college experience is just one experience in our life. We will have so many more. And Jesus did not say it would be easy. He definitely said the opposite, actually. But I feel like really listening to God and following him, obeying his commands, that is so much more worth it than that party that you're going to go to. It is so much more worth it than, that girl that only wants to party with you to be friends. It's so much more worth it than anything that you're going to experience in college. This college experience is something you're going to have now and here on this earth. But after you leave this earth, we have a whole eternity to look towards. And I just think that it's important to keep that in mind because, that is so much more important than anything that we will experience on this earth. And also know that maybe if you're having a hard time in college, you're not alone in that. I think that a lot of people feel like that. A lot of people feel confused and lost as they go through college. And it's hard to navigate, honestly. It's just hard. But if you are looking to Jesus and focusing on how much he loves you, there's going to be happiness there that, like, it just doesn't ever end. It doesn't go away. It's not going to leave you feeling empty the next day, like drinking and smoking and, hooking up with the next guy. You know what I mean? Those things, they might make you feel good in the moment, but in the end, there's only one thing that can make us truly happy and, like, fulfilled, and that is Jesus. And so, following Jesus, especially in college, might lead you somewhere or to someone that you would never expect, like it did for me and Chelsea, and, really cause you to grow in ways that you wouldn't have otherwise. So last closing note, I'm going to leave you with this verse. These things I have spoken unto you, that in me you might have peace. In the world you shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer, I have overcome the world. John 16:33. And with that, I really have nothing more to add to this conversation. So thank you so much for listening, and I really hope that you enjoyed this conversation and gained something out of it, and I will catch you on the next one.